Hello students, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a gel transfer. So the first thing that you're going to want to get is a photograph printed out that you want to use as a transfer for your project. So I chose Bob Marley. Now I have already cut this out, but I'm going to show you what you can do. So there's different options. If you want it, you can grab different stencils, you can use circles. I used this stencil for mine, so it's a hexagon, and so you can kind of figure out, where you want what parts you want to cut out. So for this I'm using a permanent marker so that you can see in the video, but when you do yours, please just use a pencil because the permanent marker will bleed when we do the gel transfer. So I kind of wanted to change it up a little bit versus doing just one shape. I did a few shapes and cut them out. All right, so after you've traced your shapes, cut them out. I have images here that I cut out. Alrighty, so what I did is I went over here and I traced them, just because when you put down the gel medium, if you go over the edge like this, so if you can see I intentionally did this to kind of show you, I just put down a bunch of gel medium before I put the picture down. And when you guys do your watercolor for this project, this gel medium is going to resist it, so the watercolor will only go on the paper around and you'll have this big mark where the gel medium is at. So to avoid that, what you can do is trace the shape, whatever shape it is that you decided to cut it out as, and then you can take gel medium and you're going to put it into a little cup, and I grabbed a small brush because these shapes are a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to put the gel medium inside of the shape. If you go a little bit out of the edges, it's fine. And you want to use a considerable amount too. I know normally I'm telling you to be conservative with materials, but you do need to use a little bit more than if you were just gluing something down. And of course we have the large shape in the center. So what's going to happen is that you're going to put your picture down and the gel medium is going to pull the ink out of the paper. You want to let it dry completely, and then you're going to get a wet sponge and you're going to scrub the paper off and you'll be left with your image. And I'm going to show you those steps here in a minute. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to take our pictures, flip them upside down. Let me do this. And I just realized that this might be backwards because of the way that I did it. So if you do your image, like if you do it with different shapes like I did, you're going to have to flip everything, and I can talk to you more about that in person if you have questions. Okay. Flip these. You're going to want to press it down. You don't have to use this tool, but something with a flat edge does help. The gel medium does like to squeeze out the edges, so be careful. You can have something next to you to wipe off the gel medium if it gets onto a tool. Okay. We're going to do these ones. Okay. And I'm just going to use my finger to kind of press these down. All right, so after you've done that and you've waited hours, It's going to take hours for you students. It's just going to be the next day, the next class period. It's going to look like this. It'll be dried. And then you're going to want to get a cup of water and a sponge. There's little sponges like this at the sink. You're going to get the sponge wet so there's excess water in the sponge, and squeeze it onto the paper. Now if you get too much water, you're going to affect the paper around your image, so you don't want too much, but you want enough to saturate the paper. As you can see, the color's already starting to come through from the actual image that I used. And like I was saying earlier, you're flipping it, so you have to imagine that it's not going to look exactly like the printout, it's going to be flipped. So then you're going to just start rubbing off the paper, go in little circles. And this is just a picture of the Dovekins. This was a band that used to be together here in Denver. Alright, and so there's your image. Now, after it dries, what will happen sometimes is you'll still see some of the paper. So I'm going to show you with this image. You see how it's kind of fuzzy? You just have to get it wet again and kind of scrub it off the paper. Sometimes you can use your finger to rub the paper off as well. You see how it's starting to come off? So sometimes it takes more than one scrub, if you will, to get all of it off. So that is how you do a gel transfer. All right, now it's your turn.